The Washington Wizards are currently 11-11 in the 9th seed in probably the strongest Eastern Conference in the last 10 years, ahead of teams like the Miami Heat and Chicago Bulls. I bet nobody would have predicted this before the start of the season. This is only one example of one of the many NBA teams that's exceeding expectations this year. But the question is, are they sustainable? Let's look at 3 of the most surprising NBA teams this year and find out, should the NBA take them seriously? The Indiana Pacers are one team who many had at the bottom of the East this year, tanking for you-know-who. But they are currently 12-9, 4th in the Eastern Conference, and they've actually beaten some good teams so far like New Orleans, Miami, and Toronto. Unlike everybody else, I actually thought that the Pacers could be something this year and make a legitimate playoff push. And this is because I believed in Tyrese Halliburton as a top point guard in the NBA, and boy is he ever proving me right. Tyrese is averaging 20 points and 11 assists a game on 48% from the field and 38% from 3, and that's even down a little bit compared to what it was before. Tyrese is the main reason why the Pacers are sitting pretty amongst the top of the East. Tyrese is so damn good. He's putting up essentially prime Chris Paul numbers, but nobody said a peep. He's essentially Chris Paul, but like 6 inches taller, got a burner on him, and he can play just as good of defense. If Tyrese was in LA right now, everybody would be saying that he's like a top 10 player in the whole entire league. But because he's playing in Indiana, nobody cares. The Pacers also have a very balanced young squad outside of Tyrese. Miles Turner is playing incredible basketball and is either very committed to the team or wants to get traded to the Lakers. Buddy Hield is also back to his best, and they found a rookie gem in Benedict Mathurin, putting up almost 20 off the bench. Yikes, that is scary good. This team is definitely a frightening one for the future. But should we take them seriously for this season? That's the real question. And the answer is kind of. The Pacers have a good squad that can compete both offensively and defensively, but they haven't played many of the top teams in the league yet. And when they have, it's been a bit mixed. They've lost most of these games. This year will most likely see the Pacers slow down a bit in the next month or so, and then they'll probably end up somewhere like the 9th seed. The Pacers will still probably end up making the playoffs, but I don't see them getting much farther than that. But in terms of the future and the next 5 years, the Pacers are going to be ridiculously dangerous. I would watch out for them. The Washington Wizards, as I mentioned at the start of the video, are slowly making their way up the standings. Before the start of the season, I said I thought they were in no man's land, considering their lack of young talent and a superstar. But to start the season, they're doing better than I predicted. This squad they have on paper is pretty solid. They've got a starting 5 of Kristaps Porzingis, Beal, Monte Morris, Denny Avdia, and Kuzma. They have some shooters, some defenders, and some guys who can score. Not too bad. The real thing that's helped them improve, though, is the re-emergence of Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis is back to his Knicks best after all the injuries. He never really fit with the Mavs, and it took him some time to adjust to Washington, but now he's back to putting up all-star numbers, putting up 21, 8, and almost 2 blocks. He's also back to shooting the 3 really well at around 38%. Kuzma is also back to his early Laker days, averaging 20 a game. But this has resulted in Bradley Beal taking a dip in his shot attempts, although he's still been very solid and efficient. Despite this unexpected start for the Wizards this season, I don't think they're going to be making much noise come playoff time. Although they have a good squad, there's a bunch of other better teams in the East that have had a slower start. I anticipate these guys to pick it up. Guys like Brooklyn or Miami. I think they'll eventually surpass Washington. Washington can still make a playoff push and end up around the 7th seed, but they won't be giving anyone any trouble. I still think it's time to rebuild for them while they could get some good young assets and picks for this upcoming loaded draft. The New Orleans Pelicans are a team with bags of talent, and most people had them making the playoffs pretty comfortably, but not many had them this high. They're currently occupying the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, but it's not hard to see why. The Pelicans have a super young and largely inexperienced roster, but that doesn't mean that they're missing anything at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They have primary scoring options like Zion, Ingram, who now has playoff experience, and CJ, who's got tons of that. They also have shooters like Trey Murphy and Devontae Graham, as well as a slew of young defenders like Herb Jones, Alvarado, and Dyson Daniels, for example. My favorite guy on this roster is Trey Murphy. We all knew he could shoot, but I've been really impressed with his improvement in terms of the other aspects of his game, like his movement off the ball, his finishing around the rim, and his defense has also gotten considerably better. He's gonna go bonkers in the next few seasons, I promise. The only major flaw in this squad is the injuries. CJ, Zion, and BI have all missed a good chunk of playing time this year, which isn't good, especially Zion, who seems to constantly have injury scares. So with these injuries, you'd think that this would put them out of contention to be serious, but I think it's quite the opposite. I think with the squad the Pelicans have, they are most definitely serious. I think they just need to keep a few of their young guys and young stars healthy at a time. But if they could have all of them healthy at the same time come playoff time, it's going to be really, really good for them. If they can minimize injuries and maybe rest a few players in the regular season and still maintain a high playoff seed, then the Pelicans are going to be most definitely serious. If they can do this and maintain it for the rest of the regular season, the whole entire NBA is in trouble, and they still have that Lakers pick next year. If Wembanyama ends up on the Pelicans, I'll never watch basketball ever again. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out my latest video right here. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and as always, stay rested. See you in the next one.